Hello, lovely beings. I'm JJ Rose. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the veil being open, what that means, and the ramifications thereof. I understand that not everyone understands what the veil is. I guess I took that a little bit for granted because I've always known what it is. Being that, I am a witch and knowing other witches, it's very commonplace for us to talk about it. So I just kind of figured it was something everyone understood. But what the veil is basically a protective veil, if you will, between our world and the other worlds. And it is there in place in order to kind of keep things and beings who have passed on from coming back all too easily, i.e., there's a barrier. The reason why it's important is twice a year the veil thins, and this is around Halloween time, and that would be late October, and then also again in May. And again, I bring that up because a lot of people actually have forgotten what the true meaning of May Day is. The reason why the veil is important and the fact that it hasn't closed up is unprecedented is because this allows other beings, other energies to have a much more free look and ability to come into our world. The other thing that it does is it allows us to see and peer into the other layered realities, meaning the other dimensions, if you want to call them that. Not necessarily timelines, because timelines would be still within our same frequency. It's just another us, but somewhere else. I'm talking about other levels, things that exist in the same world, but we don't normally see them because they're on a different frequency than ours, or they exist in a different dimension than ours. Now, I basically have written some things out, and I want to talk about, in specific, go through bullet points, why this is important, why I'm talking about it, and to just give all of you a bit of a heads up. All right. So being that the veil has not closed up, it is causing a huge uptick in people having spiritual and supernatural encounters, more so than ever before. And when I say that, I don't mean people necessarily just like me. I mean average people who have maybe had one experience their entire life are now having multiple. When people who don't normally have these encounters start suddenly having them, the positive to that is that there's very sudden spiritual awakenings, and that is wonderful, right? We always want someone to open up and experience their spirituality and start seeking out information and growing themselves. That's the positive. But as to every positive, there is a negative. And the negative to this is that some people are venturing into the dark side unknowingly. Hence why I did the PSA episode back in January with Uncomfortable and Let's Get Freaky podcast. This is why I warned you all to be very cautious of what you are ingesting, and ingesting via listening, watching, reading, as well as food and water, and really taking care of yourself. The veil being thin is also causing a lot of people to have spiritual attacks, and sometimes people will think they're unprovoked. No spiritual attack is ever unprovoked, by the way. But that being said, the way that these spiritual attacks I'm seeing are manifesting, they're manifesting as fear. And I'm talking about unreasonable fear out of nowhere. Like suddenly you're just terrified of whatever it is. And it's consistent fear, not like, oh, that scared me, I'm over it, let's have a good day. I'm talking like running around and living in fear. On top of that, depression, night terrors, nightmares, shadow people being seen, invasive thoughts, extreme paranoia, fits of rage, apathy, conspiracy theory rabbit holes, And I don't mean, oh, you have a sudden interest in them. I mean, people are going down them and not using logic and reason to say, hey, there's a lot of evidence disproving this, but they're following it willy-nilly down a road. And sometimes that does not lead to the most healthy mindset. The last one, which I am going to talk about a little bit in depth. Right now, because there are so many spiritual awakenings happening, and this is a very intense time, not only astrologically, spiritually, the veil being down, like there's a lot of energies being thrown around. And as a result of people waking up very quickly, and also people having to do a lot of spiritual work to get ready for what is to come or to help others, there's a lot of shadow work being done. And shadow work can be absolutely wonderful, but let's face it, it's extremely intense, right? Shadow work is basically looking at the sides of yourself, your personality, who you are, that you don't necessarily like and or that the world necessarily would prefer you not to have, and dealing with it, either where it came from and healing it. Sometimes it's integrating it, i.e. just saying, I'm going to use this in a healthier way within my life. But it is really, really intense work. Part of shadow work also is dealing with insecurities. And this is the part that I want to kind of triple down on. Right now, I am seeing a lot of people who have insecurities that are coming out in extremely harmful ways to themselves and to other people. And I'm going to give a couple examples because we all have insecurities, right? Everybody does. If you're alive, you got one. You could do all the work that you want to do, and there's probably still one hanging out. These are very deep insecurities. And let's face it, when you're insecure about something, you either want to hide it, right? So you want to pretend it's not there. So people tend to do the opposite of whatever it is very boldly. Or they reach out for whatever they're insecure about to make them feel secure. Some of that can be attention, right? Like some people are insecure, people don't like them, or they're insecure that they're not, physically desirable or smart enough, whatever it may be. And so they are deliberately going out and doing the exact opposite in order to placate that insecurity or that fear, which insecurities are all basically fears. This can harm relationships. If you're single and you're insecure about your looks or whatever, and you're putting thirst traps out there, do you? That's fine. You're not hurting anybody. But if you are in a partnered relationship that is monogamous, and you're asking from or for attention from people who are not your partner in order just to make you feel good, that's not helping your partner. And you're also trying to get attention and adulation from people who really, that's not the crux of your issue, right? That's something that you need to deal with within yourself. And a lot of people will say, well, if my partner isn't giving it to me, I'll get it from somebody else. Okay, but have you talked to your partner about what it is that you need? And there are times, and I've seen this over and over, it does not matter. You could have the most amazing, loving partner who adores you and shows you all the affection and says all the right things, but you still need more. And so you will go out and you will cross boundaries and you will do things that aren't healthy for your relationship. And because I care about all of you, I'm bringing this up, and I know I'm probably doubling down on this. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but what I am saying is just think about your actions and what you're doing. Okay? I had this conversation with someone not too long ago, and they were saying, well, if someone's considered super beautiful or super handsome, like what would they be insecure about? And I cracked up and I said, well, more than likely they're insecure about people actually respecting them or thinking that they're intelligent. Because it's one thing to be beautiful and know it, right? Or handsome and you know it. But if that's all people value you for, don't you want people to like actually like who you are for you, not just because you're nice to look at? Wouldn't you actually want people to think that you're intelligent and that you're a worthy being of conversation versus just you look pretty? I mean, I feel like that's pretty surface, but then again, this is me talking. And the reason why I'm bringing this up with such gusto is when I'm seeing things played out in multiple different people who aren't connected in one way whatsoever, I like bringing them up because it obviously means that it's happening beyond just my scope, right? If it's happening that much with people that I know, I can only imagine what's happening out there in the collective that I don't know. So again, insecurities, we all have them, but part of your shadow work is to start understanding and either healing that or learning how to use it for good. Hey, if you're insecure about the way that you look and you're single or you're in a situation that you can put yourself out there and that adulation brings you a modeling career or something that you're earning money from, hey, more power to you. I mean, talk about an ego boost. That would be a huge way. But also make sure that you're not acting on your insecurities and almost putting yourself in a position where you're going to get them triggered again, because the internet isn't always the nicest place in the entire world. I'm just saying. Internet has a lot of positives to it, but there are a lot of drawbacks as well. So right now, shadow work, a lot of the way that I'm hearing it being presented, it's happening in dreams. Very intense dreams that when you wake up, you're not forgetting them. I myself have had a few. Definitely wrote them down. They stuck with me, one in particular for days. I really couldn't figure it out because it didn't really make sense. It was just kind of bizarre, but it was bizarre and it wouldn't leave me alone. And then I really ended up thinking about, okay, the ages that I was in this dream and what I was being accused of in the dream. And it completely made sense. And I was like, okay, that's something that I need to work on healing and understanding. And also realizing that a little bit of that was playing out in my life currently. And therefore, I could address it in a much better way than maybe I normally would have. So, that being said, shadow work, it's like the dark night of the soul, right? Some of you come through it very, very quickly. It's very intense. But you come through it quickly. For other people, it lingers for months or years. But again, this is why we have friends. We have resources. There's discords out there for different podcasts. There's like-minded people out there. If you have stuff going on, I highly recommend, if you don't have anyone in your immediate personal life, reach out on one of those. Post a question, start participating and seeing that there are other people out there like you. And there are a lot of wonderful minds out there as well that are more than happy to throw in their 2 cents as to maybe give you another way to look at what is going on with you or how to heal it. Because let's face it, I mean, on some of these groups online and discords, I have seen opinions and I have seen experiences being shared that are incredible, and incredible in a great way, because I think about reading that at my age. God, if I had been able to read that when I was younger, that would have really, really helped me. So, the internet can be a great, great thing as long as you're using it for those purposes. I just don't want everyone to think that I'm like dragging all over the internet. It is a really, really wonderful thing. Again, it's like anything. Everything, duality, there's a good and a bad to everything. All right. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. And I'm going to go into a little more detail. I am basically walking on eggshells with this one, so most of you will pick up what I'm putting down. There's a lot of people right now who steadfast think that they are following the right light side, but they are not. Their actions are divisive, mean, wicked, oppressive, and cruel, and demeaning. If what you believe in requires you to harm or corner other humans or beings on this earth in order to make yourself feel better, you might need to reevaluate what it is that you're ascribing to, okay? I know I've said this before, I just kind of said it and left it, but I'm bringing this up for a very specific reason. And think about the time we're in right now. There's a lot going on. With the veil being thin and all the things that I've just discussed, we are all having strange dreams. We're either not sleeping at all, we're oversleeping, or we're just fatigued. And I can tell you from personal experience, I am tired. I'm unreasonably tired. Even though I get a good night's sleep every night, I wake up and I feel like I've slept an hour. I'm requiring naps. I'm requiring a lot of downtime that I do not normally need. And I'm not sick in any way, shape, or form. I have been taking all of my vitamins and minerals, so those are doing a lot better. But my body and my mind feel like we've been under extreme stress, and there's just this exhaustion with it. And I'm mentioning this because I'm hearing the same thing from a lot of you. And that is all over the map in where you're at. And a lot of this is because spiritual work does take a physical toll. Our bodies are, whether you want to call it vessel or temple, and it requires maintenance and care. And this is why I discuss so many times about eating right, sleeping well, self-care, salt baths and showers, vitamins, general wellness, personal care time, alone time with whatever you need, meditation, being out in nature, your recharge time. And I know it probably sounds like I'm just beating a dead horse with this, but there is a reason that I am tripling down. And I have had some people reach out who have had some pretty profound experiences, and all of them got the same message. And when I have numerous people like us, and I'm saying us because if you're listening to me, you're more than likely on this bandwagon, we're exhausted. And a lot of it too is because there's a lot happening. Yes, astrologically there's a lot happening. Yeah, there's solar flares, there's crazy weather, there's a lot of calamity within the world, there's a lot of just uncertainty within the world. And whether you listen to the news 24/7 or not, you're picking up on the collective energies of what's happening. And then on top of that, you have the veil being pretty much open, and all these extraneous energies that have been streaming through. And it's extremely important to make sure that you are bubbling. And I do not mean you're bubbling once and you're good for a couple days or a week. I mean 2, 3, 4 times a day. If you are going to be around physical people, you need to bubble right before, and you need to clear afterwards. I today went to the grocery store. I was gone probably an hour, and I had to do almost 45 minutes of work in order to clear myself after, and I went fully bubbled. And the even funnier thing was there were barely anybody in any of the places that I was at. So that was just me being outside of my home that I have protected. Just the energies out there are really intense. If I'm getting hit with some of the stuff that I'm getting hit with at home, I can only imagine what's going on out there for the rest of you. Now, again, on physical issues, your minerals are extremely important. Everyone thinks, oh, I take a multi or I take vitamin C, iron, magnesium, B complex vitamins. If you just take B6 or B12, great, but you really need a B100, and that's called a B complex. It has all the vitamin Bs in it. Fun thing, it makes your tinkle look bright yellow. You can joke about that. I don't know. I find it funny. I think it looks like a lava lamp. And there you go. So have fun with it, I have liquid vitamins. I put them in a little shot glass. I feel all fancy, like I'm taking a shot. And then I wash it down with some water. And there's my big night, right? But please take care of your physical vessel. We are not getting our nutrients from our food anymore. I mean, there's some nutrients in food, but even if you're going to a farmer's market and you're getting all organic and you're eating all your fruits and vegetables every day, you're still not getting the amount that you need to keep your body going with the amount of stress and the amount of stuff that we are being bombarded with right now. Our bodies need extra care. As a result of the veil being pretty open, there's been an uptick of people who are passing on, and they are not crossing over immediately. And the reason I bring this up is because there are a lot of you out there that I've talked to that one of your jobs is to help these souls cross over. And normally it's at a pace that you can handle. But there's been a huge uptick recently. I myself am getting hit with upticks. Not only during the day, but also at night. The other night I actually had a situation where I had a young boy actually jump up and sit on my chest, and I had an older man next to my bed screaming at me while my husband's completely asleep, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. And I could understand that they needed help, but for them to get that close to me, which was very invasive, did not like, but also for them to be that adamant, that's not normal for me. I mean, yes, I do see spirits, people have passed on occasionally. It's not necessarily my main wheelhouse, but if I'm getting things like that, I can only imagine those of you who deal with that on a consistent daily basis, what you guys are getting and what you are working on, whether you're knowingly doing it or not. Because there are a lot of you who this is part of your job, but you unknowingly do it. Just like there's a lot of the work that I do that I just kind of have asked to compartmentalize. I'm not knowingly doing it. That being said, it is still happening, and it is causing fatigue. It's a lot of extra work. Okay, now that I've dragged on and on and on and on, I'm going to talk to you Lightworkers directly. Okay? I created my YouTube channel to talk to people like you, to have a safe place. I'm not selling anything. I'm a resource where you're getting pure information that doesn't have all the other stigmas of other stuff with it. I do this in my very rare but free time. It takes me hours to prepare to record one of these, let alone if I've gone on a podcast. The average podcast, it takes me 3 to 5 hours of preparation time in advance to make sure that not only my energy's right, my messages are right, but also to bubble myself and the episode and whoever I'm recording with. So I want you to think about this. I don't show my face. I'm not selling you guys anything. If you email or message me questions, those are free. I try to help out wherever I can. The only time I charge is if I have to get directly involved, be on the phone, and do direct energy work. Okay? And even then, I'm way undercharging compared to what the norm is. I have a wonderful referral network. There's been a few of you that needed things that kind of aren't in my wheelhouse, and I completely and utterly am open to sending you to other people. If there are those of you that do this work for a living, please reach out to me and, let me vet you a little bit. I'd love to add you to my list. It's not a closed list. I can always use more people on the list and from different areas, because I've run into a few times people wanting someone to physically go to, and obviously, that I don't have everyone everywhere. We'll put it that way. My main goal in this is to help fight fear and to help you guys empower yourselves so that you can keep yourselves safe, as well as just navigate this insane world that we're living in with this bombardment of information coming at you from so many different directions. And that's why I do speak up about things like conspiracy theory rabbit holes, people being led down. And I do talk about things that may not make me the most popular person, but it is what it is, because I have to speak on it. There are a lot of people out there telling you that they're on the right side, and they're not. A lot of people out there telling you they're working for the light. They are not. And it's very, very clear if you watch what it is that they're doing. If they're trying to divide you, if they're trying to tell you that in order for you to do this work, you need to put other people down and be awful, that is not light work. Okay? Obviously, part of light work, we're not necessarily always dealing in the happiest situations. There have had to be times where I've had to tell people some pretty rough stuff, and I've had to do it myself. I mean, I was talking about insecurities earlier. I know who I am. I know what my insecurities are. I've worked on them. That being said, I also know what my frailties are, or what the things are about me that my shadow work. Some of it I've inculcated. I am definitely a mama wolf, and it is because I care. And if I consider you part of my pack, which I do, that means I love you and I deeply care about you. That also can come across as a bit overbearing and a little bit like, whoa, lady, right? And I've had those conversations with people, and most of the time I try to call it out in advance so that they know it's coming from a place of love. I'm not trying to be all up in your business, all up in your grill. I am just trying to make sure that you are safe, especially those of you who have reached out about some pretty upsetting situations, right? Like if I'm feeling the fear that you're feeling or upset when you're sending me those emails and I don't hear back from you in a couple days, I do get worried at times because I care about you. I don't want you to be in a situation, that's perilous. At the same time, I am never going to leave anyone in a situation that I feel like you would be hurt. Okay? Because I've had a few people's, where maybe they misconstrued what I've said or misunderstood it, or they get a little worked up. And I'm like, listen, I would never, ever, ever leave you in a situation to just go fend for yourself. I'm not like that. I will either teach you how to take care of it yourself, and if it's that bad, and there have been a few situations that were that bad, I will go in and do whatever work I can to help intervene. That being said, again, I came here to teach. I want to teach you guys to do this yourself. And to be perfectly honest, we need more of you. We need more light workers in the world. The world is a weird place right now. We have a lot of people who are really, really lost. They don't know what they believe in. They don't even know day by day if it's worth even going on. And I get that. That's part of that fear. That's part of that apathy of just everything is overwhelming and it's so much. What am I doing? Right? Like, I get all of that. I get that probably deeper than you guys realize. So for all of you out there who are struggling, whether it's just a lot, or you're exhausted, or you're burnt, or crispy, as I say, because I'm beyond burnt at times, I'm just crispy. Here's a couple things that I'd like to ask of you, and if you know anyone else who you're seeing the same signs in, I'd like you to pass this along to them. Doesn't have to be from me, just good advice from a friend, okay? Protect yourself, and whatever light blast you are normally using to clear yourself, I want you to double or triple it. Pull in way more light than you normally do. And the reason for that, light, comes from source, but it's needed right now. Okay? That's how kind of mucky things are right now. Please bubble at least twice a day, morning and night, if not 3 or 4 times a day. If you have time, or if you can make the time, I want you to physically ground, meaning put your feet on earth, walk in dirt, on grass. If you can go to a body of water, put your feet within the running water, whether it's an ocean, lake, stream, creek, river, shore that you're used to, whatever you want. You get where I'm going. Whatever moving body of water you can, that's outside. If it's a pond, great. Go walk in the pond just a little bit. If there's a duck, tell him I said hi. I really like ducks. Walk in a park. If you're at work or wherever you are, let's say you're at even a family gathering, and you start getting that feeling like you're either going to cry or explode, do me a favor. Go take a walk. Make up an excuse. You need something from the car or whatever. Take your shoes off. Walk in the grass a little bit and just throw all of that down your clearing cord into the center of the earth, okay? So it's cleansed and cleared. Just do that to recharge, allow the earth to help you rebalance, and it really does help. If you're not able to put your feet in the ground, or if it would look very, very odd, hug a tree, touch a tree, lean against a tree if you need to look cool and you don't want to just be random and hugging a tree. Go lean up against one. In my area, the Native American tribe in my area, we have a lot of redwoods. And redwoods are extremely healing. And the tribe in our area would actually take their people who were getting sick and they would make them go sit at the base of a redwood tree for a couple hours, because that just helped realign and recharge. So if that works, that's fine. I have literally told someone, go put your hands in a planter box, because they weren't able to get to grass. Like, do what you gotta do, but just remember that's another resource for you. And sometimes just doing something physical like that, even though it sounds silly or ridiculous, it kind of helps you remember what you need to do and realign, recharge, and clear. The last one is, if you're meditating on a daily basis, okay, if we can all start meditating on the why the veil is open the way that it is, and I would be extremely appreciative to any of you who want to reach out to me if you've gotten anything directly. I know what I have received directly, and I am deliberately not talking about it for a reason, and that is just fine. We're going to leave that there. But I am interested in, when the rest of you do your meditations, if you can ask that question and see the answers that you're getting. I'd be really, really curious, and I'd be extremely appreciative if you could share that with me. I know this is a little bit of a different episode, and, you know, if I sound down, I'm sorry. It's just the end of a very long couple months. I'm tired, and it's the full moon, but you know what? It's the full moon. And of course I'm recording on the full moon, because that seems to be what I do lately. But I'm sending out love to all of you, and I'm asking you to please take that love, fill yourself with it, and then exponentially go send that love out to other people. Thank you.